Welcome to the Chaos Sector. We return to the Matrix. This episode was aired prior to the debate, but we'll follow up with our analysis. I want you all to take a look at a definition for a moment. Opportunist, a person who exploits circumstances to gain immediate advantage rather than being guided by consistent principles or plans. This is Kamala Harris, a political opportunist. Heck, she even calls her economic policy opportunity economy. Can't get any more obvious than that, right? But I find it very strange that Harris, in that interview and even in her rallies, she has somehow detached herself from the administration she is a part of as a new, fresh face, while at the same time attaching herself to the administration when she sees an opportunity to take credit for accomplishments. Now, the problem here is with the negatives of the administration. Harris presents herself as if she's a new candidate. If you put it into perspective here, Harris is willing to throw old Joe under the bus to create a, quote, brand new candidate. Listen, we by no means are fans of Bernie Lomax, but he's an old man who just wanted to be president. He got that, but he didn't want to be bogged down by the radical agendas that allowed him to obtain that position of power. We called this as soon as this ticket was elected in 2021. Harris was always going to be the next Democratic presidential candidate. We even assumed that old Joe would in fact step down and Harris would become president. It didn't happen officially, but essentially Harris is the current president of the United States, and her ducking and dodging throughout her vice presidency and in her presidential campaign reveals that she has no clue what she's doing. It's just the facts. Kamala Harris was hired based on identity politics. She was not hired based on experience and was given the task of border czar, which old Joe claimed she was the most qualified for. Insane, right? But that's what happened. She was then nominated as the Democratic presidential candidate after old Joe retired, and now she's once again in a position that she doesn't deserve. How is this happening? Why is this happening? Let's remember what happened here. Democrats executed a coup against old Joe. They then ushered Kamala Harris in as the nominee, without any votes, without a primary, and delegates were forced to back her. Voters had already backed old Joe, and they were also forced to back Harris after he stepped down. He stepped down after the dreaded performance, which many believed was the end of old Joe's political career. It was planned that way. Democrats knew old Joe was not fit to be the president, let alone run for a second term. He didn't care, as long as he obtained the political power as president, which he can brag about to his fellow senior citizens on vacations across the country. Harris, on the other hand, was the new challenger waiting in the weeds throughout this administration. Democrats put together the play, and it was so. The only problem with this plan is Harris has been stinking up the joint, just like old Joe. This plan would have worked if Harris wasn't the vice president currently, but she is. So this is nothing more than a desperate attempt to prevent Trump from being reelected. Old Joe couldn't beat him, so there was nobody left who they felt would present a challenge. Well, there were more qualified candidates, but they decided to concede to the plan by Pelosi and Schumer. My colleague mentioned how it would have been better for Harris to wait her turn, so to speak. Reject old Joe's offer of being the vice president, work her way up the ranks, perhaps spend some time in Congress for a few years or so, and then in a few years run for president again. Her portfolio would be much more credible if she had taken the time to gain experience in the political matrix. Mind you, her prior experience politically was more on the outskirts, meaning she doesn't have much experience regarding policy, the economy, global affairs, education, you name it. You don't just jump into a Corvette and think you can drive it like you drive a freaking Honda Accord. There are levels to this, my friends, and Harris thought she could drive a Corvette like she drove her Accord. And the result? She loses control of the vehicle because the power was too much for her to handle. It's not an automatic Harris. You have to put in the manual work in shifting gears. Trump has already driven the Corvette. Sure, he drives a bit too fast at times, but he knows how to handle that power. This isn't about gender neither, although the left is forcing that to be the focus. It's about one candidate who is jumping into a sports car with high horsepower and has never driven such a vehicle before. You need practice, you need coaching, you need someone to show you how to drive such a powerful machine. And Harris never obtained this training. Sure, she can smile and give off the impression that she's comfortable and prepared, but in reality, Harris is scared shitless. And everyone knows this, including her own damn party. It's a reality check. realizing that you bit off more than you could chew. And despite the left-wing media and Democrats' gaslighting, nothing will change the fact that Harris is in over her head. She should have waited for this opportunity instead of power grabbing. Well, at least this will be a learning experience, right? There's a reason Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and other radicals in the party weren't popular with the American people. Socialism going up against Trump would be like a toddler punching an adult in the leg. Heck, look what Democrats did to Cornel West. They threw him under the bus so fast, everyone forgot he was actually running for president. Now, although he was an independent, he aligned with Democrats. Georgia and Michigan Democrats literally tried to kick him off the ballots. Wow. Now, why would they attempt to do such a thing? And get this, Cornel West is a black man. Cornel West isn't a Republican, and he is somewhat an ally with the Democratic Party. Goes to show how cutthroat Democrats are, that they would try to kick a black man off the ballots, who has been a very impactful voice in the political matrix. Could it be that they didn't want anyone challenging Kamala Harris and Trump, who was a third-party candidate? More so against Harris, because even though West is a socialist, he could beat Harris simply off his message alone. Against Trump, well, I'll say this, he could put up a good fight against Trump. If anything else, that would definitely be an entertaining debate. I wouldn't be surprised if Cornel West will come out and endorse Trump. Now, that would send shockwaves throughout the political matrix.
Okay, now ABC held the debate between Trump and Harris, and it was a one-sided debate, as expected. The moderators were so biased against Trump, it should have been dismissed, and another debate scheduled with different moderators, because the level of spite towards Donald Trump was pathetic. Fact-checking Trump all throughout, but never once did they fact-check Harris, when clearly she made false claims time and time again. Not only did they not fact-check Harris, they never pressed her about her policies. Well, there was that one question about the economy. She was basically asked, what would she do to fix the economic hardships that millions of Americans are dealing with? And guess what Harris responded with? A story about her growing up in the middle class. Wow. Yeah, no economic policy? It was a question about what policy do you propose to the American voters that will help them in this time of economic hardships? Oh, I grew up one paycheck away from poverty, so, I'll help them by relating to them in that manner. She got away with it, no follow-up to make her actually answer the question. Just accept the blabbering deflection as a legitimate response. You see, this is the problem, as we mentioned. Kamala Harris does not have a plan. She never had a plan. She was never supposed to be in this position in the first place. So what makes you think she actually has a set of policies that she can present in the debate? They even asked her opinion about their opinion regarding Trump. I mean, that's not what a moderator should be doing. Your job is to moderate or mediate the debate between both candidates. See, this is why there shouldn't be debates by staff who align with either party, Democrat or Republican. Go back to the old format, where the American people are engaged in the debates. Allow them to interact with both presidential candidates. Without them, the moderators can go apeshit crazy if they are politically biased. Get independent moderators who have no real beef for each party and let them moderate the debate. It's simple. But this was to make Harris look good, and even being 3-1, many still feel she didn't do enough to win. Some claim she won the debate, as they criticized Trump for biting on the bait thrown out there, but his points had already been proven. The economy, the border crisis, the increase in crime as a result of that border crisis, foreign relations, and of course, abortion. Everything else was pointing out that Harris hasn't done anything as vice president, nor her boss in Old Joe in this administration. The American people are focused on those key issues. The mudslinging does not really impact the message in this case. Trump had more highlights, and that segment where he asked, "Who is the president?" That resonated with the American voters because it magnified that Old Joe is not actually the president right now. He's nowhere to be found. And to top it off, he doesn't seem too enthusiastic about cheering his vice president on, right? Has he been interviewed since the debate? Perhaps, but he seems uninterested in Harris's tussle with Trump. But Harris lied about Charlottesville, she lied about the bloodbath comment, she lied about Project 2025, she lied about the so-called insurrection, she lied about Trump's economic and foreign relations, and not once was she challenged on any of it. The last time I checked, Kamala Harris is currently vice president, is running for president, and is a grown fucking adult. Why are you treating her like she needs your help in the debate? Oh, wait, what am I saying?
What about the recent Venezuelan migrants who have taken over several neighborhoods in Colorado, entering apartment complexes with assault weapons, declaring themselves as the new landlords, robbing tenants, and setting up their drug operations, even sex trafficking? Well, seems the moderators didn't feel that was worth asking Harris about. I mean, wasn't it old Joe and Harris who enacted the temporary protected status bill for Venezuelans? What was the status of those individuals? Were they asylum seekers? Yeah, if you say so. Here's a list of countries that have temporary protected status, which really translates to will let you into the country illegally, allow you to run amok, and give you government benefits to boot. El Salvador, Haiti, Venezuela, Honduras, Ukraine, Burma, Ethiopia, Nepal, Nicaragua, and Yemen. Now, we all know that El Salvador is home to one of the most notorious gangs in the world. Sure, give them protected status. Never mind the potential for extremely violent criminals sneaking in. Haiti has recently hit the news feeds. Apparently, Haitians are eating pets, crashing vehicles, and uprooting neighborhoods at an alarming rate. Sure, no problem. Venezuela has also made headlines with those surveillance videos of groups of males just taking over apartment complexes. Oh, they're being neighborly. They needed to borrow some sugar, Honduras is another country that has had its share of criminals enter the country. Yeah, but, we can't vet all of them. Yeah, you can bet that each of these countries listed as granted temporary protected status by Old Joe and Harris, at least 30 to 50% of those migrants are criminals. And there were other countries on that list which were problematic as well, such as Sudan, Somalia, Syria, and get this, even Afghanistan was on the list. Yeah, they are literally trying to destroy the United States. It's evident. But hey, let's talk about why Trump questioned if Harris was black or Indian. Mind you, the same question was raised by the American Association of Black Journalists, who in fact are employed by ABC. So it was injected into the debate to create racial tension. But the problem is the majority of the black community actually agrees with Trump's inquiry. It wasn't an inquiry based on just race itself. It was questioning the authenticity of Harris's character, as she identified as an Indian woman most of her life. And then when she became more politically involved, she identified as a black woman. It is important, but there were far more important questions they could have presented. Like, will Kamala Harris crack down on the criminal wave of illegal immigrants? Oh wait, how can she do that when she gave those criminals temporary protected status? This is out of this world insanity. The only way Harris is even close to Trump in the polls is due to fake news. And the final tallies come election time. It will without a doubt be election fraud. Hands down. No ifs and buts about it.
I noticed she never had a rebuttal for the border crisis. No rebuttal for Afghanistan. No rebuttal for Russia invading Ukraine under this administration. No rebuttal for the American soldiers and civilians who have died under this administration. No rebuttal for inflation. And she didn't rebuttal Trump's point about late-term abortions, which are actually happening across the country. It's on record. The video is out there of some wacky leftist stating that the woman will give birth, and that woman and her doctors can decide if they want to keep the child alive or not. Nonpartisan and genuine debate moderators would point out there were cases of late-term abortions and even, murders of infants after birth. Now, the individual Trump referred to was a former governor of Virginia named Ralph Northam, who is also a pediatrician, who made comments in 2019 about abortion decisions. Now, to be fair, he was mainly referring to infants that were deformed and had medical issues, where the mother, father, and doctors would come to a consensus about allowing the infant to live, or to, there's no other way to put this, murder the infant. But we all know this is not the only circumstance where an actual infant born has been murdered, something they definitely don't want to be exposed. Okay, deformities is a very subjective issue, and I'm not going to get into that due to the sensitivities of what could be considered sustainable or not as a human being. But Lindsay Davis responded in saying, quote, "There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born," unquote. Well, regardless of the condition of the baby, there is proof that a baby can be killed after birth, and Trump cited the former governor's comments as that proof. But even more so, think about what Davis said here. There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. What about killing the baby before it's born? Oh, that's right, you forgot about that developmental stage. Oh, I see. The heartbeat of a fetus, embryo, or let's just call it an infant. The heartbeat of an infant starts around 5 to 6 weeks in development. Now, many like to use this as a barometer of what defines a human being. But the truth, or scientific fact, is that the human being starts its developmental stage once the sperm cracks the eggs. This is, in fact, the first stage of human development in a woman's reproductive system. And of course, this is prior to any heartbeat being developed. The left's ideology is self-contradicting, of course, because the concept of what defines a human being or not contradicts the developmental stages of every human being after they are born, such as getting older. Getting older is, get this, another developmental stage of a human being. So if we go based on the left's concept of what defines a human being, well, they have a specific developmental stage that they define a human being. But once again, how can you determine something as a fact, such as the existence of a human being, if you are going to a specific time frame of the developmental state? You have two terms here, and one of them is cunningly avoided by the left: human life and human being. When you apply the concept of human life, you can refer to the developmental state of the male's sperm penetrating the female's eggs, which then fuses with the egg membranes, and so on and so on. This is how you end up with both your parents' DNA. Why is this? I feel like I'm in sex ed class teaching this to students. Well, now once this occurs, the development of, get this, a new life is being developed in the woman's or mother's womb. This life gradually develops into a fetus, then it gradually develops into an infant, and then it is ready to be delivered. This entire process is still a living being developed over that pregnancy. Where in all of this is there not a living being? Think of a chicken egg. Why are eggs frozen after the chicken lays them? Because it freezes the developmental stage of that life inside the egg. When an abortion is performed, it freezes or halts the last stages of development of that human life. Oh, but the heartbeat isn't developed yet. Therefore, it's not a living being? Negative. It has to, get this, develop. This doesn't mean the living being doesn't exist. It has to go through the developmental stages, just like Lindsay Davis had to when she was inside her mother's womb. But I guess she can't fathom herself being something different than what she is today, which is a nut job. See, the left plays scientific semantics with this issue. Obviously, the early developmental stages are not physically categorized as a human being, but a human being has to develop, you see? A human life, by most biological researchers, agree that a human life begins at conception or fertilization. The human life begins, then the human being is developed over time. A clump of cells, or goop, that the wacky liberals describe, is the process of their own origins and development stages. And cells, get this, are living organisms. So even that quote, clump of cells, or goopy fluid, is in fact living. The reason they dismiss this process is because the further you go back into the developmental stages of an infant, it shows that life exists prior to the heartbeat argument the left relies on. The heart is made up of cells as well, so there's no escaping the truth, my friends. Some would even suggest that sperm itself is a living being. Not going to get too deep into that. But here's another wacky take. If the left claims a man, yes, an actual man, can get pregnant, then why would anyone even acknowledge their opinions about what defines a human being? They won't even define what a woman is, for fuck's sake. Yet they're on their bully pulpits claiming a woman has the right to abort a child? You won't even define what a woman is, so don't speak about it's nonsense. Anywho, abortion overall is wrong, immoral, and in most cases, completely motivated by a woman's vanity more than anything else. Yes, it's about the vanity of that woman, who doesn't want to bear the responsibility of being a mother, which is a gift that some women can't have, yet didn't take the necessary steps to ensure she didn't get pregnant. I mean, this is murder. What the hell? And this is what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz promote, this sickness. To be honest, I think Trump did a great job considering he was in hostile territory. In fact, I think it's even beyond that. Although he did fall for a few traps, the American people already know what a Trump administration looks like. And based on what Harris has said in the past, and has been flip-flopping all over the place since then, they don't trust her. Even though many would claim Harris won the debate, to be honest, it wasn't a debate. So, well, it's up in the air about who won what, because an actual debate didn't apply here. I guess she had a moral victory of standing on the same stage as Trump and exchanging words, yet it wasn't a debate though. So in essence, she satisfied all of the people who were waiting for her to show up on the big stage. Good job. Woohoo, you did it. After the debate, voters did not get any information from Harris about a single policy that will help them. Nothing but a bunch of lies, classic racial baiting, which the moderators were foaming at the mouth to sling out there, and a series of attacks against her opponent to keep her from being touched. If you can't take the heat, then don't come walking into the kitchen. We've said this already, but again, Kamala Harris is not prepared to be in the lion's den even against a less aggressive Trump. If this were 2016, Harris would be the laughingstock of politics if she debated Trump. But even at his older age and mental exhaustion of being targeted politically, Harris still couldn't defeat him. Because it's not about his age, it's about what he stands for, in the political matrix, of course. Harris is invisible, she's void, dull, no substance, no inspiration, just a mouthpiece for the radical left. And here's the thing, she's not even doing that well, you see? The reason she appeared void in that debate is because she doesn't have a brain of her own. It's sad, but true. Harris doesn't walk before asking which direction she should go. Trump, on the other hand, walks and people follow. A true leader versus someone who doesn't have the ability to think for herself. And then get this, Harris claimed that her and Walz are gun owners, and they're not looking to take the citizens' guns away. Oh wow, really, just insanity. Again, no fact check from the moderators? That was a good time to call her out on her past statements. Harris supported a mandatory buyback of guns. Oh yeah, it's on record. Let's see. Flip-flopped on that? Flip-flopped on the border? Flip-flopped on fracking? Flip-flopped on defunding the police. I mean, if she flip-flops anymore, she might get whiplash. Trump knew ABC would do this, but he chose to take the challenge. Meanwhile, Harris wouldn't dare agree to a debate on Fox News. But she should, to show how tough she is, right? After all, you're running for president. If you're scared to debate or even be interviewed by the political opponent, how in the world are you capable of dealing with foreign challenges and even threats? And let's be clear, Harris is in fact scared to debate on Fox News. Trump is not afraid to debate on a network that hates his guts. We see that. CNN, ABC, and there are talks for the next debate being on either Fox or NBC. So all in all, Harris may have satisfied the left-wing media in her first presidential debate, but it was more like she crashed a party she wasn't invited to. Who's that? I don't know. I think her name is Kamala Harris or something like that. Who invited her? Did you invite her? No, I didn't. Did you? Of course not. Well, she's here. Where did she come from then? I mean, how did she just walk in like this? I think she's friends with Joe, the old man down the street. Really, he isn't here. Did he tell her to come to the party? What the hell? He can't do that.
Ha, priceless. Harris is an uninvited guest at a party and has the nerve to make it seem like she's the life of the party. Yeah, nice try. It's absurd, but we called it. From the beginning, the insanity can't be hidden behind that artificial smile Harris has. Behind that smile is someone who knows they don't deserve the opportunity given to them. And it's probably more discouraging to realize that after the debate, in which many feel she edged out a victory, she hasn't gained in the polls. Because the American people saw someone who was once again focusing on Trump and the old playbook, as opposed to giving them a new perspective and beneficial policies and plans. I mean, she went back to Charlottesville. Yes, we nicknamed Charlottesville because it has been a talking point for Democrats. If you're pitching this, quote, new day and looking forward, why can't you focus on your policies that would highlight this new day and looking to the future? Because you have no future, you have no new day. It's the same old Democratic strategy. The same with old Joe, bring back better, or some shit he coined his campaign. They, yes, including you, Vice President Harris, they didn't bring back anything, and the only thing that got better was the access to enter the country illegally and the benefits those illegal immigrants obtained once they were in the country. Democrats have a one-track mind. They can only go in one direction, and that's identity politics. Male voters favor Trump, female voters favor Harris. But female voters are supporting Harris by way of, you guessed it, identity politics. Abortion can't be the only reason women are supporting Harris, because in the grand scheme of things, if she were elected president and she loses control of the Corvette, those same women will look at their bank accounts, the increase in danger due to illegal immigrants migrating throughout the country, and say to themselves, it wasn't worth it. Taylor Swift can run around and support Harris all she wants, but those everyday women better have a heavy dose of her music in their playlist, because they will be stressed the hell out in a Harris-Walz administration. She won't be donating to any of those women, and surely her music won't help pay the bills. And she had the nerve to claim she liked Tim Walz? Yeah, not a surprise. A wacky Hollywood celebrity endorsing another wacky sicko. But think about that a bit. She specifically praised Tim Walz, as if he has done something worthwhile. She claimed it's because he stands with the LGBTQ community. So? What makes him any different than anyone else who does? How can you praise a man who lied about his military service, lied about a DUI, clearly is in bed with China, and signed an executive order to kidnap children from parents who don't want them being infected with wokeism indoctrination? Does Taylor Swift care about those children? Does she care that those parents would lose their children to the state if they don't obey the Hitler-like laws that Walz enforced? Doesn't she care about freedom? Just another liberal who wants to sell another crappy album using politics as a way to gain some momentum. This is the problem, my friends. These celebrities are bird brains, but have influence in politics and how people vote. If the average citizen isn't really informed politically, what does that say for celebrities? Complete fucking airheads, nothing between the ears. See, the reason liberal celebrities are so hardwired to back Democrats is because they have the same goal in mind: control over minds of the American people. Democrats use big government as a way to control society, making citizens more dependent on government, and celebrities use their influence to mold how citizens think and live their lives. They both want to keep that power of influence, that power of control. So it's no wonder why Taylor Swift praises Tim Walz. He wants to control the people, just like his good old friends in the Chinese Communist Party. Yep, all filth, garbage, fuckery. This is the Chaos Sector.